What is up, gas cans? I am your host at Hop BFF, Chris Hopper. Wait, at Beerfield Hop. Gas cans at Beerfield Hop. Chris Hopper, 2 P's. Beerfield 30 at Beerfield Dan.
That turned real quick. You were like, I got it. Oh,
that was my last burst of energy.
That was your 18th third win.
And it died in the middle of it.
You had it. You were right there, and then you fumbled it. You stumbled. You Daniel Jones'd it last year. Running 80 yards, just stumbling.
Damian Harris did. It's funny because I'm like, I did just wake up from a hour-long nap or something like that. So 45. So I'd imagine my energy is going to pick up as we go. It might have even been longer than that. Hour and a half nap. So my energy is probably going to pick up as we go because we're only going to wake for 5 to 10 minutes. But it's been a hell of a week already, and it's Tuesday. So yeah, I'm a little drained. Hopefully you're doing better. But Dan hopped on this Zoom call and he's like, "Man, I just got tired all of a sudden." I'm like, "Yeah, it's the vibes."
He's fucking drained right through the monitors. They're like, "Well, you're about to feel my pain."
Well, hopefully some things will put life into me. Bye week hell, making things difficult for people, that puts life in me. We're going to make it easier for you guys. So primarily we're going to break down how do you handle bye weeks? How do you structure your lineups in bye weeks? How do you deal with, weeks like this week or week 9, week 10, week 13, week 14, where you've got 4+ NFL teams on bye. This is the worst.
Easily. Yeah. It's this might be the worst of all time.
Well, you have
I know we've had bye weeks before, but this one's fucking brutal.
You have the most teams on bye this. You have the most teams on bye this week. There are 5 teams on bye this week. There are 4 weeks left with 4 teams on bye.
6 teams, right?
Is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I can't count.
Keep an even number. Yeah.
Yeah.
Opens an even number.
So there's 60. Right. Okay. 6 teams on bye this week, so it is the worst. But you had last week where you had 4 teams on bye. You've got 2 other weeks coming up with 4 teams on bye, where some of those are pretty stacked for fantasy lineups. Well, maybe not week 10, but. Working up, you figure out how do you structure lineups and give you some players to target on waivers. We don't traditionally do waiver wire episodes because there's a lot of places you can get that, but we are going to give some of it with bye weeks upon us. Maybe look at some schedules going through the bye weeks, see if anybody's got a particularly soft matchup. We'll go from there. Also have the latest news as I read it on the fly, and
hell yeah.
Then we'll get into week 7. As always, before we do that, we're drinking.
What's fueling Beerfield?
What are we drinking, Dan?
I am drinking Distill's Triton. This is their newest hybrid American English style barley wine. For those of you who've been listening for a while, know that I'm a huge fan of barley wine. And I was up at the brewery getting some stuff for an event that I had to do last week. I had to pick me up one of these, so I'm going to share that with you guys tonight.
Very nice. All right, I have not even had a chance to beer shop, so my fridge is like, what thing that I've had forever do I want, or what sour do I want? And I'm really not feeling sours right now. Is not the season for that. So I've got statewide from Four Hands. So yeah, statewide is their hazy pale ale. It helps support the Veterans Community Project, so it does have a charitable component to it. I know nothing else about this beer. 5.5 ABV. They used hops, probably some barley water. The things that the things you use
that make beer.
Right.
Things that help to make beer.
Things that help you make beer. All right. Oh, boy.
News.
something surprising. Anyway, not surprising. Kadarius Toney, ankle injury. He's expected to miss at least one game after his breakout. So Dante Pettis, who we'll talk about here later, filled in for that. Giants still a really, really beat up receiver core. So
it's when Dante Pettis is your number 2 in 2021. Things haven't gone well for you.
Yep, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. The Browns have a rash of injuries. Jarvis Landry is not quite ready to come back yet. Baker Mayfield's in a sling. He expects to play. Odell Beckham Jr. has been sidelined with a shoulder injury after I think he left the game and didn't come back.
Yeah.
They've got Kareem Hunt to IR. Nick Chubb already ruled out. So
everyone's hurt.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more as far as who do you go for here when we get to the waiver wire segment. But everybody's hurt.
Everybody's hurt.
Let's see. Speaking of everybody being hurt, Paris Campbell's hurt again. Story of his career. The Colts have waived Jacob Eason.
Oh, the dreams died.
Yeah.
You and Matt can go.
Well,
you guys can sulk about it for a little bit.
It was always
something too.
No, it was always more of a process and where he landed pick than it was a extreme talent pick. It was.
Oh, I know.
Better of that back end tier and where he landed behind a Phillip Rivers story if he's going to be something he has a chance. So take the lottery ticket. Okay, Bridgewater is expected to start. I didn't know that was in question. Yeah.
Your guess is as good as mine.
I had no idea. He apparently sacked 9 times. Dawson Knox broke a bone in his hand. Not expected to miss one time, but probably will miss at least a game there. He is worth holding on to, but got to ruin our 3 tight end strategy a little bit.
Well, he's on bye week this week, and he heard it throwing the 2-point conversion to Josh Allen. Like, a play that didn't need to happen.
And Josh Allen apparently tried to check out of it, and Knox would not let him. So Knox does get this. This happens with Dawson Knox. This is what stopped Dawson Knox from being more heralded coming out of college was literally the fact that, well, one, he was overshadowed on his own team by a lot of really good players, but two, he was banged up. I think his college career, he played something like 16 games across 3 seasons or something like that.
Yeah, it's between him and Metcalf who can miss more time.
Right.
Like, I mean, breaking your bone in a hand is a bit, like trying to throw a pass is a bit of a freak accident. So hopefully, he's back after the bye week and he can continue to reign as a top 5-6 tight end. For the sake of my Scott Fish Bowl team, I need that.
Yeah, Josh Lambo cut by the Jaguars after Matthew Wright nailed some field goals and a game-winning kick.
Dude, that was insane. Welcome to London.
Have no idea.
Where Jacksonville somehow finds ways.
They always win
to win weird games out there.
It's the way to do it. And we're to Monday night. By the way, Monday Night Miracle finally happened for me.
Yeah, I got mine last week. I did not get it this week.
I got mine this week. I was down by 46, I think, going into Monday night with Tyler Bass and Derrick Henry left.
You got her done.
Derrick Henry got her done for me. Tyler Bass couldn't have done it without the kicker, though.
Just enough from the Bass. He's more of a smallmouth bass, but
I mean,
he had, so it's a largemouth.
Yeah, he had 13 of that.
No, I mean that's getting it done. That's getting it done.
Mm-hmm. He had 13, and Henry had 39. So it got it done.
Henry did everything in that game. Literally everything. That game for the Titans.
Yeah, A.J. Brown dealing with an injury, of course. Calf strain for Dak in Week 6. Cowboy medical staff's optimistic he's going to play after the bye week. So
I hope so.
Making sure I'm not missing anything critical. No foot. No foot.
Zach Ertz gets traded to the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah. Zach Ertz was traded to the Cardinals. That happened late last week.
It did.
Feels like
we
so
didn't go
long
Sunday.
ago.
So,
Yeah.
Well, for you, it's like 80 hours. 80 hours of work week ago.
Right. Feels like 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Zach Ertz traded to the Eagles, which the Eagles were not the
other
Eagles.
way around. Zach
The
Ertz
Cardinals.
traded to the
Wrong
Cardinals.
damn bird.
Goddamn birds.
Wrong damn bird. No, traded to the Cardinals, who have been targeting their tight ends. So
They have been.
was not eligible to play, but they had been targeting their tight ends. Max Williams, with 2 X's, was fantasy relevant for the first time in 5 years.
Ever.
I mean, the last time he had fantasy top 15 games was 5-6 years ago. Was targeted by the Cardinals 5-6 times a game. Just good volume for a tight end. Zach Ertz, he's more known as a pass catching tight end than a blocking tight end, like Max was. Comes in, and he's gonna get one more shot. If you're in a tight end hellscape, which if you're playing in an NFL fantasy football league, you're in a tight end hellscape. Go do it. Go figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, this is the moment that Zach Ertz owners Zach Ertz rosterable people have been waiting for. It's
their whole life. Their whole life. Well,
in the last 2 years, they're like, when can I actually fucking finally play Zach Ertz? And Murray in this Cardinals offense has decided that Hopkins should only get 21% target share, which is the highest on the team, and everyone should get 5 to 6 targets per game. I mean, fuck, AJ Brown's got all but one game with 6. He's got 6 targets in all but one game. Moore and Kurt. I expect Ertz to shine in the red zone. He can still work kind of over the middle, and he's going to have mismatches like everyone else. And Murray's played at an MVP level, and he's killing you with all the playmakers, not just Hopkins or Edmonds or Kurt. Fucking everybody is beating your ass down. So not bad. Not bad for a flyer tight end, which I'm sure Ertz will be picked up.
Let's see. Sam Darnold's fallen off the wagon, and Matt Rule's going to try to lean on the running game a little bit more after Christian McCaffrey tried to come back from a hamstring injury and landed right back on IR. Feels like last year, huh?
Yeah, I really don't. I guess this is the problem with waiting with McCaffrey. Now you have to miss him for up to 6 weeks, and now your playoff hopes from a team that started out 3-0 have lost 3 straight.
Yeah.
And in what looks to be, it's not a wide open NFC, by any means, but there's 2 wild card spots I think are going to be up for grabs. And the Panthers made moves to improve the defense, and Darnold is 4 touchdowns, 6 picks, super horrible completion percentage. Not getting it done, unfortunately, for them. But this is what happens when he loses all of his playmakers too, right? I mean, this is a soft schedule. It was, Darnold finally had a good cast of people around him, and now the injuries are starting to happen, and you're starting to see.
Yeah. What happens? All right.
JD back in here. JD, it's back in the chat. What's going on, buddy? It's been, we talk to you at least once or twice a week in the group chat, or in the league chat. But he wants to know rest of the season, this week and rest of the season.
Okay.
Michael Carter or Mike Davis?
It's Mike Davis this week based on matchup.
If this is for Dynasty, obviously it's Michael Carter, but redraft wise,
it might be Michael Carter rest of season. I'm looking ahead here just a bit, at least after this week, right? And I just lost it. So the Jets play the Patriots this week. That's not a go with Michael Carter. They have the Bengals the next week. That is. Then the Colts, which is fine. The Bills, which is iffy. The Dolphins, which is fine. Now I'm into week 12. The Texans, which is good.
Oh, it's a Geen team.
Guillotine
It's
league.
an eliminator league. I fucking love these leagues.
I do too. We should do more of these. There are also two players that have kind of been going opposite directions as the season's wore on. I mean, not quickly, but I feel like Carter has been worked in a little bit more, whereas, Davis is in Cordero Patterson's shadow.
Yeah, I mean, Davis is still seeing at least 60% of the snaps, while Carter is battling, finally to hit 50-50. Both have had touchdowns the past 2 weeks to kind of boost up their numbers. Carter is the more talented back. Both offenses are garbage. And at least it's tough because I promise you, whoever you pick, you'll end up dropping from the other one at some point because they're both untrusted. They both play in backfields that are ambiguous. Mike Davis is a little more known, and he's a little more secure with his volume.
And I'm looking at the Falcons schedule too. Its schedule is heavily in favor of Carter as his talent. So,
I mean, if you're not leading on these guys to play, like if you're just hoping for, okay, I'm going to ride this guy until the next couple of weeks and hopefully I'm still involved, then I just hold on to Carter. Maybe it gets better. But if you're playing in a guillotine league, for those of you out there that don't know what the guillotine is, this removes the least scoring team every week, and the players on their roster goes into the free agent pool. And then you keep adding players, and you keep chopping off the lowest scoring team every week until you reach your final week
there's
where you
one
have a
left.
winner. Yeah, and so gradually rosters will start to improve. You get about 5, 6, 7 weeks in, it starts to get all teams start to get more improved. Then it's about picking the right players, and hopefully you're lucky on that instead of just getting the best player. Most leagues use a fat budget to kind of help. I don't know if it matters between Carter and Davis. If you're surviving, there's going to be better ones. There's got to be better ones out there. But I would hold on to Michael Carter. And that's
I would lean Carter too. Schedule leans Carter. I think talent leans Carter a little bit. So I'm gonna lean Michael Carter.
Hopefully you're not relying on one of these two in like 2 or 3 weeks when hopefully the running back free agent pool.
Michael Carter rest of season. Mike Davis this week. Sorry, I got to answer the full question.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Len has their bye is next week, right? Or is it this?
Hold on, I actually have that pulled up. So Atlanta's bye is, where are they? Oh, Atlanta's coming off the bye.
Yeah, I was going to say they should be coming out. Both teams
are coming off the bye.
Yeah, because they played in London 2 weeks ago. That's right.
Probably why this matters for this week.
That too. He said his main lineup's great.
It's Mike.
A bunch of
it's Mike Davis this week. It's Michael Carter rest of the season. If this is a bye week thing, which it looks like it might be, it's Mike Davis.
Yeah, it's good question. Love eliminator leagues. I play in one. I typically get to the bubble. It's very difficult to get past that. It's really based off of luck. Because again, you're trying to pick up the best players and not playing matchups per se, but you're trying to play the best players. And
it's like even in head to head, right? You have a bad week.
Yeah.
It's just you have a bad week, and there's going to be a week where your team's going to be near or the lowest scoring, and it's not death in those leagues when it happens. You just take your L and move on. Eliminator leagues. I do like guillotine leagues though.
Yeah, it's all about not trying to score the most points right away. It's about not scoring the least amount. So there's a lot of strategy, and we can go more into that in the off season. Maybe we'll spend some time talking about some of the odder side of our fantasy leagues.
Yep. All right, you want to go ahead and kick into some of what you had written down here, and like I said, before we get into that segment about some players to look at during a bye, I want to talk a bit about lineup structure, but go ahead and
we'll start with the first question that I've seen rolling around. You got You have the Chris Broussard clip that if you've been on Twitter in the last few hours, you've probably seen the clip of him with butchering. I didn't watch it because I really don't give a fuck, but
I haven't.
It's been throughout there.
So.
Oh, okay. So obviously this is in part to the play called in the game last night. Sean McDermott and the Bills went for it on 4th and 1 on the 3-yard line with 33 seconds left, down 3. Didn't kick the field goal, obviously. Josh Allen takes the handoff, looks up, slipped and fall. Look, I've seen it. I've seen the conversation posted a bunch on here, so I figured I'd ask you, what are your thoughts on the call? Do you think McDermott made the right call by going for it on 4th and 1, down 3 with 33 seconds left? Spoiler, I do. I think it's
no, I'm fine with it. And it's look, there's this argument 3 freaking times a year.
Yeah.
And it's
a week, I feel like.
Yeah, well, it's really it's really binary, right? On or off. It is either you're of the school of we're going to play for the tie and get to overtime and then see what happens, where there's still some weight you're putting into a coin flip at that point. Or we're going to play to win and we're going to play to win right now. Ron Rivera, we know, is a play to win coach, right?
Yep.
There are a couple other guys that we know are notoriously play to win. And you know what? If he kicks the field goal and you go to overtime, you're having the same conversation. So the decision to go for it, what yard line was it from?
The 3.
The
so
3?
It was
so the decision to go for it, I'm fine with.
Yeah.
The play call, I'm probably not trying to run my quarterback on 4th and 3.
It was a 4th and 1 from the 3.
4th and 1.
So he gets to the 2 to pick up the first down.
Okay, got it. Never mind.
Not as egregious.
I'm still okay with that because I got a big ass quarterback too that is known for his legs. So you're trying to pick up the first down and get 4 more shots at the end zone there. I'm fine with it. You're playing to win the game in that scenario. You're not playing for the tie. And I guarantee you there are a lot of coaches in the NFL, because how do you become an NFL head coach? 1, you're good, unless you're Urban Meyer, then it's a marketing decision. Or 2, you're competitive. Nobody competes to tie. So I'm fine with it. It's a talking heads talking point. I didn't see the play. I didn't see a snap of football this week, honestly, because of work.
Yeah, you've been busy.
This is like I stayed plugged in a bit through Sleeper when I could, and just kind of box score watching is I'm known to do when I can't get into a game, and maybe whatever highlights happen here and there. But I did not see a snap of football even yesterday. But I will say that given what you just told me, no issues with that.
Yeah, I mean it. For those of you who need a little more context, the Bills' defense was getting
they're getting rolled by Derrick Henry.
Trained on by Derrick Henry. The only viable thing in that offense, they've given up, I think, a touchdown on 4 straight drives. So defense, A, probably tired. B, not doing much to stop anything. And I don't know how many people who wouldn't go for it on 4th and 1 with Josh Allen. He fucking slips. Like, if he doesn't slip, scored a touchdown, we're heralding Sean McDermott as an aggressive play caller, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that, instead of having to have this conversation about it. Like, analytics are a part of, today's game. And if you're following analytics, you're making that call 100% of the time. In the Super Bowl, in the preseason, in fall practice, like you're fucking making that, like you're making that call every time.
Yeah.
And you have to live and die by it. And, for the old school fans or for the fans who said they would kick the field goal there, I don't know. You're going for the same amount of odds. You're not going to win. You're going to. Like,
those are the same fans who prefer.
You're still trying to win the fucking game. And you have to, essentially, whoever wins the coin flip, right? Because the Vikings won on their first drive against the Panthers in OT. I believe the Cowboys did too. So
those are the same fans that listen to Creed and only have sex in the missionary position. Don't want to do anything risky.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins. only have yeah. sex military positions on their birthday. I love it. All right.
I'll take a Blue Moon, please. It's nice and safe.
Oh my God. I'll take a Boston. I'll take a Samuel.
Hey,
Adams
no. No, don't you fucking dare insult Sam Adams on this show.
Fine. I will take a Liney Kugel's Summer Shandy, please.
Okay, I'll take that. I hate that beer.
All right.
I hate that. I hate that beer. Yeah, I do.
So before we talk about some of these players, let's jump into the strategy portion of surviving not just by apocalypses, but just surviving bye weeks in general, and the importance of navigating your roster through the 8 weeks of byes here.
Sure. So bye weeks do not start at the draft, right? You don't start planning for bye weeks at the NFL draft. If you plan for bye weeks, not the NFL draft, or fantasy football draft, if you plan for bye weeks while you are in your fantasy football drafts, you're probably struggling right now. It's just not something you should pay attention to when you're drafting your team. Now, when it comes to the actual bye week and getting to this position, this is the worst week of the year. There are a couple others that figure to be bad. You're going to find yourself in some situations where it's, holy crap, how do I structure a lineup? Well, one thing you hear me preach all the time, and I hope you've listened, is depth, and roster depth, and floor players. But your lineup structure starts from, who is my opponent? You have to build it based on your opponent, and based on projections, and based on your opponent's matchups. If they have a lot of boom, you're going to structure your lineup to go for broke. If you're projected to be close, or they've got studs with not so good matchups, or you're even projected ahead, then what you're going to do is you're going to look at some of these floor type players that I recommend. And the best benches in fantasy football are a mixture of the wide receiver, running back position, and a mixture of both some boom and some safety. But who do you plug in? Well, that starts from based on your opponent and based on projections and what do you need. From there, you're going to play matchups. You're going to play the waiver wire, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and play matchups in that regard. You're going to stream defenses. You're going to stream kickers, because you should still have kickers. And we're going to help you out with that. But the roster structure or the lineup structure of a bye week should be predicated on your matchup and head-to-head. It should be predicated on your matchup first and the players you're plugging in, their matchup second, based on what you're trying to do here. Because what you're trying to do at the bye week when you're missing 3 or 4 of your regular starters is you're trying to survive the bye week. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about some of these bye weeks coming up and look at some guys that might have some softer schedules, as well as some guys that are trending the right direction. So as we look at this week, we got the Bills. So you're going to have no Diggs, no Allen, no Dawson Knox, no
Manny Sanders, no Zach Moss, no Devin Singletary,
Moss, Singletary, no
flex players.
This is the worst. Yeah, this is the worst week for it. You're gonna miss no Tyler Bass for me. You're gonna miss your Cowboys. So you're gonna have no Lamb, no Cooper, no Zeke, no Dak, no Pollard, no Dalton Schultz. You're gonna miss the Jaguars. Not much, but you're gonna miss the Jaguars.
James Robinson. The Vikings, there's another just absolutely stacked fantasy team. So you're now taking Dalvin Cook, if you had to pick him up, Tyler Conklin, Justin Jefferson, and Adam Thielen out of the equation. The Steelers are out, so there goes Najee Harris, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, and the Chargers are out. So you have no Eckler, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, or Justin Herbert. Or even a surging Jared
Cook. Yeah. So when we say this is the worst for bye weeks, this is the worst week for bye weeks. After this, you have the Ravens and Raiders. that hurts a little bit. Not bad. Lions, Seahawks, Bucks football team. That's probably the next worst bye week, honestly, which is week 9. Bears, Bengals, Giants, Texans. You're not missing a lot there thanks to the fantasy wastelands that are the Bears, Giants, and Texans. Broncos, Rams, you'll miss a little bit. Cardinals, Chiefs will be another one that, for only having 2 weeks on bye, is going to smart a little bit. Panthers, Packers, Browns, Titans. That's going to give week 9 a run for its money. That's week 13. And then Colts, Dolphins, Patriots, Eagles in week 14. Not quite as bad. So, Dan, why don't you go ahead and talk about some of these players that you have targeted just based on their individual performance while I take a chance to look at some schedules here.
Yeah, so I started writing this list, kind of just highlighting some of the players I wanted to just, I guess give some notes to, and I turn into more of a free agent pickup. So we're going to start with the Bateman himself, Rashad Bateman. In a week he was supposed to be eased in. He played 65% of the snaps, caught 6 targets, which was tied for the team lead with Mark Andrews, in a game where the Ravens were never behind and had control of the game from the start of it. So you have a negative game script towards pass catching. You have viable pass catchers in Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews, and you have Bateman playing the Watkins role, commanding 65 or commanding 22.2% of the target share. Why is this important? If Bateman's available, you have a team that has shown a player that has shown in his first game ever coming off of this injury is getting over 20% of the target share on an offense that's starving for an alpha to kind of take over, to be paired alongside both Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews. Not bad for a player to be Easton. Thoughts on Bateman?
No, I like Bateman. It was a good start. You've seen, and you really have not seen anybody take over that alpha role in Baltimore. While you have seen Lamar Jackson put up some pretty big passing performances, we've seen Hollywood Brown be the field stretcher. We've seen Devin Duvernay come on a little bit more over the last couple weeks in like almost a Hunter Renfrow type of scenario. But they're still missing the alpha. So Bateman coming in and getting that snap share and those targets to start looks good. Ravens are always going to be week to week. You've got to question what the volume might be there. But again, you're just looking to survive. The Ravens have the Bengals this week, which figures to be a really, really solid matchup. The following week, it's on bye. Yeah, let me just do this.
Yeah, they're on bye.
Yeah. So they're on bye the next week, but focusing on this week, you've got a really, really solid matchup against the Bengals. You've got a good matchup against the Vikings, the Dolphins, the Bears, who have a weak secondary, the Browns. They don't have another tough-ish matchup until December 5th.
That's against Pittsburgh on late afternoon game. Again, that's 6 games.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then you go back
5,
and you get the Browns, Packers, and Bengals right after that. So,
and at this point, I mean, it's not even just about the matchups that are coming out, which is obviously very important. And we know that Baltimore, can be a lower volume passing team. Look, they're up double-digit points by the first quarter. I mean,
you're gonna be.
Yeah, like it was. We have to look beyond just this game to see what more of a neutral game script looks like. And we're going to get to see that against, the Bengals. And then after against the Vikings, we're not going to get until the Dolphins in the middle of November and the Bears, where we're going to see maybe more of that negative game script, towards passing volume. So you have, 2 games right now with a rookie receiver who was their first round pick, who's stepping into a role for the injured starter and still being hyper productive. And Harbaugh came out and said that the plan wasn't to have Bateman play this large amount of snaps. He was supposed to be eased in, but he played so well and did what he was supposed to for the team that they couldn't take him off the field. And I get it, Duvernay and Miles Boykin and guys like that aren't going to keep Bateman off the field, but it's still encouraging to see that Bateman was able to get the positive remarks And it's something going forward. If he's available there, he's a highly smart pickup to go with.
I don't disagree.
All right, let's get to the super deep one. Super deep. And we kind of teased this when we talked to Giants and the insane amount of injuries that they have at the receiver position. And that's Dante Pettis. Yes, Hopper, that Dante Pettis. 11 targets. Giants wide receiver 2. Bye weeks are, we just talked about how many of these elite teams are on bye. These elite fantasy producing teams are on bye. And if there's supposed to be no Tony, if Galladay's potentially not coming back, if Slayton's not coming back, and he's going to be alongside Sterling Shepard again, look, the Panthers aren't going to produce the same amount of passing volume, the same amount of scoring volume as the Rams just did. But Sterling Shepard is probably going to draw James Bradbury. Not James Bradbury, one of the top corners for Carolina.
CJ Henderson right now.
Is it Henderson?
Yeah, because
That's
they
right,
lost.
They keep losing fucking people now.
They lost J.C. Horn, so.
And I don't think is Gilmore slated to come back at this point, or is he still a week out?
I haven't seen a look.
Either way, this is for super deep leagues. You're not running out to sign them in your 12 teams. I mean, maybe you are, but we have injuries. You have a large amount of teams on bye with elite playmakers that they're throwing out there for us.
They do hope.
Might not be a bad. What's that?
They do hope to activate Gilmore this week.
Okay, so it might not be a bad idea to look at Dante Pettis in those larger rosters.
Yeah,
because we can give you all the fucking fluff names you want, but if we're going to talk waivers, we got to talk a little bit about some of the deeper sessions.
This one's more situational, as situations sometimes are. And it's really predicated by who's healthy. Because what we've seen is whoever's in this role is going to get target volume for the Giants, but who's healthy. And, you need that player, whoever it may be, to be at least second in the pecking order here. To get that. So if you have Slayton, Shepard, or Galladay healthy, then Dante Pettis is less lovely, or Tony, sorry. So you need him to be at least a 2. So this is one that you might pick him up, but it's not an insta start if you do, depending on what we find out on Sunday or as the week progresses. But it is a good deep league call where there might not be a ton of people out there, given the injuries, given the combination of players that are injured. So it's not just like you're predicating it on one guy. I mean, there's a higher chance things break your way with this one. So I understand it. But I think the asterisk here that we need to call out is this one comes with very, very much pay attention to that situation.
Yeah, this is... I don't expect him to make it, or I expect him to make it through waivers in most leagues. One of those scenes where you look at your roster going into Sunday, going Saturday night, Sunday morning, and you have to ask yourself, okay, it looks like Pettis is number 2 again. Matchup, could be a more neutral game script. Both teams are struggling. Both defenses are good. This isn't the type of player to target, but we don't have the normal week's worth of teams playing, and the teams that we're losing, it's a lot of fantasy production, a lot of fantasy players being lost. So again, that's why we throw out some of these deeper names. Let's move on to next one that's not as deep. We've been shouting them out, especially you in the last a couple weeks here, and that's Amon-Ra St. Brown. 23 targets over his past 3 games. He's had 60% plus snap share in every game. He's getting the routes. He's getting the snaps. Targets are coming. And this is a Lions team that is, again, starving for, production outside of Swift, Williams, and Hockenson. Mm-hmm. And when they lost Quintus Cephas to IR, they needed somebody else to kind of step up from the wide receiver spot. And St. Brown's been that guy. Over 30 routes, nearly around 30 routes per game is exactly what you want. And while it's not always sexy to target the wide receiver on a low-scoring offense, again, bye week fucking hell, man. We got to start You got to start looking for, potential players who could get you this 8 to 10 targets. And all you need is a touchdown. You're not asking much else from these guys outside of a touchdown.
Well, especially in full PPR, right?
Especially in full PPR.
For St. Brown, where 5 balls for 26 yards isn't sexy, but, it's not 0. And that's kind of where you're at sometimes. 7 for 65, not sexy, but you're into double digits. 6 for 70, not sexy, you're into double digits. So the touchdown's not there, but Amon-Ra St. Brown is playing in a Jacoby Myers, Hunter Renfrow type of role here, where they're not going to work. They're not working him downfield, right? He's under 10 yards a target on the season easily, but he's getting volume because there's nobody else healthy here. He's going to continue to get volume. He'll get volume against the Rams because of the game script. It's not quite as attractive after that. Philly can be beat up on a little bit. So, you're going to get a couple of usable weeks out of St. Brown, and this is a floor play, right? When I talked in the intro to this segment about structuring your roster a certain way based on your opponent, this is a guy to have around when you just need, all right, well, I can't have a guy give me 0. I can't risk putting, a low target guy. Henry Ruggs comes to mind, for example, that, might get me 3 targets and may go 3 for 90 and a touchdown, or may go 3 for 23. This is I need some volume here, and I'm okay with plugging this in.
Exactly. Let's turn back time a little bit.
Oh, no.
If I can turn back time.
If
T.Y.
I
Hilton
could find a way.
To get T.Y. Hilton. Hilton on just a 50% snap share and a very lopsided victory for the Colts. He's got 4 targets for 4 yards, or cut off 4 of his targets for 81 yards. Look, stats-wise, it may not look sexy, right? 1 deep target, caught it, obviously.
Colts don't, and they're using him back in.
Niners. Yeah, again, you have injuries now. Paris Hilton's hurt. Hilton's a good complement to what Pittman is for this offense. And if you're looking for more of a deeper... What's that?
Pittman's target volume went way into the tank also. It was a bad game script to get a lot of target volume. So.
They were 31. They won 31-3 against Houston. This game was never in doubt, ever. Not once. Now you get the Niners. You get a more of a neutral game script, what should be. Both somewhat struggling offenses, both up and down defenses with strong running games. Today's neutral, you're going to get some throwing as one of these teams may come alive. You may see a little more scoring early on. If it becomes a little lopsided early on, you're going to see a lot more throwing. A guy like T.Y., who the opposite of St. Brown, and doesn't need a lot of target volume to get that done. And if he's playing in that role, I believe slot receivers have also had pretty decent days against the Niners. This might not be the worst call in the world.
They have, and the other part of this is, holy crap, is the Colts schedule one of my favorite ones coming throughout this. You've got the 49ers this week, then the Titans, the Jets, the Jaguars. Then you get a rough matchup against the Bills, but then you get the Bucks, which is game script decent, at least. Then you get the Bucks, the Texans. This is not a bad pickup anyway. The Cardinals, the Colts. The only bad matchup between here and the end of the year for the Colts is the Patriots. That's it. And the Patriots' pass defense is waning a little bit. So, I mean, that is literally it. If T.Y. Hilton's on waivers, you're not just grabbing T.Y. Hilton for bye weeks. You're grabbing T.Y. Hilton for a championship run. And what that deep target tells you is this, too. There's still some boom left in that tank without the noodle arm of Phillip Rivers.
And
we don't know what the floor is going to be, but there's still some boom left in T.Y. Hilton.
And he's not drawing number 1 outside coverage.
No.
I expect to see him more. Again, he played 25%. 25% of his snaps came in the slot. Not I expect that to go up with Paris Campbell not hurt, especially if he is due to miss time, and you get mismatches when you have a speed slot guy lining up against linebackers, your cover linebackers, and your safeties. All your number 3, which is typically smaller, slower corners. Maybe not slower, but definitely smaller. You get Ty, who's been working back into this offense. Again, starts out hot in a very, very lopsided matchup that would wane towards a negative game script for passing for the Colts offense. And I expect that to get better against the Niners. While I expect that to get better against the Titans. Jets and Jaguars might be a little disgusting, but again, you're not playing Ty for floor. You might be eventually, but right now you're playing Ty for the boom, for that potential boom upside. It's the Colts are starving for a number 2 receiving option alongside Pittman.
They are indeed. And T.Y. Hilton, look, he might have been a preemptive pickup on name cliche, but if he's out there, yeah, roster him. See what you get. Last year was a dud. Not a lot of love for T.Y. Hilton right now, but, I mean, look, Carson Wentz has his faults. Carson Wentz isn't at the end of his career, doing a Ben Roethlisberger impression like Phillip Rivers was last year. So.
A good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, final one. We're going to go not turn back. We're going to go the opposite turning back time. We're going to go with the rookie number 2, Jalen Waddle, the Dolphins. Waddle, 13 targets, 10 catches for, I believe, 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. Look, he's not a deep threat. They've decided to, the Dolphins have decided to use Waddle as this underneath a gadget Curtis Samuel style player instead of the Randall Cobb-esque style that we thought he'd be. Ruggs potentially getting more of deep threats. But what's great about this is that majority of leagues, well, we hope you guys play in, is PPR. Wide receivers getting 10 fucking catches, double-digit targets. You're beating his floor without even counting yards and touchdowns. And while Waddle's not going to provide you that boom, there is still a lot of boom into him as a player. He's going to house one. I think he's going to house one of these. And 2 has found a love for him. Has found a fond for him. He's struggling. The offense is struggling, but who's not struggling is Waddle. And Waddle is a good player to have because I believe he's game script neutral, or he's not game script dependent. He's not really matchup dependent. If they're going to utilize him in a high efficient pass catching way, that works in all different scripts. And when Waddle had his struggle from weeks 2 through 5, Tua comes back, and now you get this potential chance to see him reconnect back with his college quarterback. I like him as a stash, the same way that we like Hilton and Brown, is that potentially beyond this week's stashes or beyond this week play as well. I think we're going to see some games where it's not going to look great, but again, when you're looking through these bye weeks, you're looking for a floor with some upside. Waddle is the younger version of what you may see from some Hilton.
And he's getting a ton of volume, and I may have thrown waiver claims out there on him myself. So, yeah, Jalen Waddle on board. Again, it's like you take the volume of Amon-Ra St. Brown and put it with the boom that's there for T.Y. Hilton, and you basically get Jalen Waddle. It's a combination of both two things, and he might be the most complete, shall we say, wide receiver that's out there on the waiver wire right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, the Dolphins have looked like a dumpster fire.
They are a dumpster
But if they're going to continue to roll out Tua.
Looked better with Tua back, though.
Look better with, look better. And this team is, we're seeing what we would have thought we saw from them last year, right? They're 1-5. Things have not looked great. And now you're going to start seeing the younger pieces being worked in. It means less potentially from Devontae Parker. Less, we're not going to see much from Will Fuller. He's a one-year guy there. And you're going to start to see a little more Jalen Waddle play more snaps, run more routes, and hopefully see his route tree and his usage expanded beyond just the 7-yard line.
Sure.
The 7 yards out.
Indeed. All right, a couple other things that we need to look at outside of just the wide receiver position because this is a very wide receiver heavy list.
Well, I mean, it's the one position I mean, for running backs, it's very, very consolidated to like 2 or 3 tight ends. So.
Well, that wasn't a shot. So we're running back.
Well,
I want to talk about running back for a little bit just to get some names out there in your air. Dearness Johnson and Demetric Felton are going to be hot waiver claims this week because they're literally going to take over the Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt roles.
Kind of. Demetric Felton, depending on where and how your league has him classified, he may be running back. He was the same way as a prospect coming out of UCLA. Not very athletic, but super efficient. Like he's got a specific role in mind, and he's the option I'd be looking at over Felton. It's a bad matchup, by the way. It's the Broncos. The entire Browns offense is completely obliterated at this point. I don't think that Baker plays. There's no fucking way I see him playing.
He says he's playing.
Well, it's not his decision to play either. It's
he'll probably play.
The coaching staff, which I don't know how you like. I will start to lose respect for Stefanski if this call happens.
They also have the Steelers before they finally get the Bengals in week 9, and Hunt's on IR. He'll be able to come back week 10.
I expect Chubb probably back after.
Chubb will be back sooner.
A short week.
So you're gonna have to pay attention to that one, but they are backs that should get some volume this week if you're looking for backs. You've got guys coming off you got some lottery ticket type plays coming off of the PUP, or that are eligible to come off the PUP. Jermichael Hasty looks like he will in San Francisco, who desperately needs running back help. Jeff Wilson in San Francisco, also eligible. So they're going to start to get healthy in that running back room.
It's going to get very crowded.
Very crowded, very quick.
2 touchdown game on 10 carries.
Yeah. Who's not coming back, Tariq Cohen. There has been no word on his status, but on the flip side of that, Khalil Herbert is carving out a nice role for himself. And maybe usurping Damian Williams opposite David Montgomery. David Montgomery, I think, is eligible to come back next week at the earliest if he's healthy. But something else to keep in mind, you've got the guys that are popping up in trades that could happen over the next couple of weeks. Marlon Mack. You've got Devonta Freeman for the Ravens, who put together a nice game. Name I can't believe I'm mentioning. But we just talked about the Ravens schedule coming up and how decent that looks. Andrew PPR backs that may be out there. Look, J.D. McKissick, we talked about him last week. It hit in PPR leagues. It's another good J.D. McKissick matchup this week, for example. So we'll talk about that a little bit more coming up. But there's some of your some running back names for you to know. You've also got the Dolphins backfield, which is starting to shape up a little bit, but not really.
I'm still avoiding.
I would avoid them if at all possible. But again, just you're looking for options across a barren landscape of running backs. So pay attention to that a bit, but not much you can do there. As far as quarterbacks, there's going to be week-to-week streams more so than anything. You'd obviously prefer somebody that you can use for multiple weeks. So to that, we just talked about Carson Wentz and how good the Colts schedule is. In single QB leagues, he may not be on rosters, so you can stream that one. A couple other guys to look at. Taylor Heineke, they go on by. They have the Broncos next week, which is tough, but they have a good matchup against a weakened Packers secondary this week. Not really bad quarterback matchups this week, looking at it, though. You could almost pick up anybody that's playing this week and have a solid chance at doing something. So, yeah. As far as tight ends go, just try to find somebody that might catch a touchdown. That's
someone with a pulse.
Somebody that gets some red zone looks and has a pulse that occasionally gets 3 targets a game. Zach Ertz is one of those. Cole Kmet is one of those. O.J. Howard made an appearance as Gronk tries to get healthy.
That's right.
Look, it's not at all pretty, but you got to do something there. So Tsuya Uzama showed that he can blow up. Again, names.
Yeah, tight ends.
Tight ends. Anyway.
Tight ends.
Well, Sunday live streams for your start sit questions. Make sure you tune into those, with the exception of the fact that we probably won't have one this Sunday either, because probably the worst Sunday to not have one, but I got to work.
Oh, man.
After that, I'm good for the rest of the year.
Oh, we're good. I think our Steam listeners
understand.
Can find other great places. The headliners, our friends over the headliners, do a lot of stuff Sunday mornings and Sunday pregame. So
tune into them. Let Jake or Kyle know that we sent you, or maybe don't. I'm not really sure.
No. Tell them.
Tell them.
And then tell them we're looking for fucking macaroni bites.
Yeah, tell them we want our mac and cheese bites. But let them know that we sent you over. We'll be back week 8 for the rest of the season. Sincere apologies for that. For those that don't know, if you haven't figured it out, I run all the tech, all the streaming, and everything like that. So,
I'm pretty useless. You can do this without me.
I can do it without him. We struggle to do it without me. So,
yeah, it'd be a struggle.
Dan could YouTube from his cell phone.
I could probably figure it out again, but it's going with one person is just not super fun.
No, it's not. It's very boring. So we'll be back week 8 forward for sure. Life happens and dictates it and that type of thing.
Again, reach out. Reach out if you want. We'll ask questions. Want to reach out?
Yeah, reach out to Dan on Twitter. He's a lot better at paying attention to that than I am.
I'm also not working this one, so
yeah. Beerfield Theory on Twitter. Make sure you reach out to him there. It's a beer review so that I can finish the last drink of this and get into something else and hit some previews.
Hell yeah.
Beer review.
All right, statewide from Four Hands, which benefits the Veterans Community Project. Statewide is a hazy pale ale from them. Hazy pale ale is a little different than your India pale ales, basically in the fact that they're designed to be a little bit more citrus and fruit forward without a lot of the bittering qualities that you typically get out of an IPA, but also not a lot of the super juicy qualities that you'd get out of a NEPA. So for this one, color-wise, haze is definitely there. As far as flavor goes, it's a very good balance. It's got a bit of bitterness on the back end, not a ton. Just really helps subdue some of the other notes that you get out of the hops. There's a little bit of a woodsy note to it, and then just a bit of grapefruit or just kind of a generic juicier mouthfeel. It's crushable, as Dan likes to say. He taught me that word, so it's very crushable beer. Not anything super special, just a very solid representation.
Yeah, I love me some hazy pale ale. It's not the insane heavy bodies you get for some of the double and triple hazies out there, and generally less on the alcohol percentage, so you're not getting fucking hammered after your fourth one. All right, I got, again, Distilled Triton. This is a blend of the American and English style barley wine, so using, I'm assuming, malts and things alike, yeast potentially, that are from a combination of both American and English. Again, color wise, you're looking at a very caramel, toffee, heavy amber color, bodies at medium to heavy, light medium, I guess, more just medium. You're not getting the overall true thickness you may get from from an American barley wine, especially barrel aged. But you get the super caramel, super toffee, almost fruit-like sweetness from this. Hits a little bit differently, clocks in at about 12% here. So not one of these you want to crush. And being that this is very sweet, you also don't want to crush something that's like this. So it's not something you can really see out in the wild. If you have a friend or if you live in the Bloomington, Illinois the Bloomington normal area, or if you know somebody from that area and you love barley wines, I would highly recommend giving this one a try.
You know where I can find a
And
friend
totally
in the
totally
Bloomington?
not biased.
You know where I
Yes.
could find a friend in the Bloomington, Illinois area?
I know a few.
Okay,
I know a few.
good.
All right. Previews.
All right. Broncos Browns. I don't have the lines in front of me.
I got it. I got this.
Okay.
I've
I
been
know
having
you. I know
this.
you got this. This is Dan's bread. This is what he looks forward to every week. It's
I get to make fun of or be in awe of the matchups that are coming up. Broncos at the Browns. Browns are favored by 3 points. I expect this line to change as we get more information on the players that are or may not be playing. Over-unders at 42.5. Look, if the Browns are expected to miss as many players as is being alluded to, the Broncos at +3 is a great matchup. Broncos money line at +146 looks great. Again, I expect this line to go down as we get more of the injury take calls from the teams tomorrow, and especially on Thursday. Game total I'm staying away from solely because I don't trust either offense, especially the Browns if they're this banged up. Yeah. Broncos money line expected to change though. This is one of those situations when getting an early week bet in, especially for Thursday, is smart. It pays to look at early lines on your betting website.
all right. Looking at this from a fantasy perspective, it's a solid matchup for your Broncos wide receivers. Watch the status of Jerry Jeudy. There were some releases that just happened that lead to the idea that he could very easily be back. But Cortland Sutton will be there as well. Always, pretty much a perennial good start. We said he'd be a value in fantasy drafts. He is. As far as the running backs, look, it's frustrating to run out Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. You don't have a choice this week for the most likely, given the number of players on bye. This should be okay. They're pretty standard for 9 to 12 points a game, though. You're not, at this point, I don't believe that either of them remembers how to boom. So, and they're still getting basically 50-50 work share. So
It pretty much is it's pretty much fucking even. It's insane how close it is.
on the Brown side, it's a rough matchup. People are going to rush out to pick up Dearness Johnston or we mentioned Felton earlier, but it's a not sexy matchup for anything on the Brown side. They may not have their quarterback. They could be down both top wide receivers in a rough matchup there. Look, it's going to be hard, but I might avoid the Browns this week against that Denver defense. There will be somebody, and, maybe it's Peoples-Jones, maybe it's Anthony Schwartz. There will be somebody there, but, I don't love what we're potentially going to get there. So you got to pay attention to what's going on there, which is I would avoid a lot of it if I can. Pay attention to Mayfield. Pay attention to the status of Odell, of Jarvis Landry as the week wears on. But keep in mind, it's a bad matchup, and replacement players are going to be even worse. Broncos defense, good stream this week.
Great stream. I think both defenses are a good stream this week. As Teddy is not a stranger of taking sacks. And the Browns, if they're healthy, if there's anything healthy about the Browns, it's on that defensive line. So not the worst to play defenses. Donovan Peoples-Jones had the big plays in 2 touchdowns, especially after the absence of Odell when he got hurt. I'm not really rushing out to chase those points, so I'm not chasing Keenum. So I'm with you though. I'm probably this is definitely not a game you want to target for your for trying to fill in your bye weeks and your injuries.
Indeed.
All right, let's move on to a far more enthusiastic matchup. Bengals at Ravens. Ravens are 6-point favorites at home. 47.5 is the game total. Look, Cincinnati's been competitive. It feels like every game besides maybe Chicago. They were competitive against the Packers, beat the Vikings at home. Baltimore they've they've kind of played down to their opponents. They almost lost against Detroit. They lost against the Raiders. Almost lost against the Colts. Should have lost against the Colts. Should have lost against Detroit. They're also very much banged up in the secondary. It's a good pass rush, but a weak secondary. And Baltimore's offense is starting to come alive, even though they just lost Ronnie Staley to season-ending IR. So that offensive line is now also banged up even more than it was. I like the Bengals here. I'll take the spread. I don't think they're going to win, but I think this game's going to be a very much of an AFC North style divisional matchup where the game's decided by the late fourth quarter and within 3 to 4 points. So I'll take the Bengals +6, and game total is a bit high. I'm not in love with it. I can definitely see this game going over, or I can see some of a defensive matchup. But if you're betting a game total, I'd lean the over.
Sure. And taking this one also from a fantasy football perspective, you can start essentially everything here. Joe Mixon should be in line for a very big week. He had the biggest week on the Bengals last week. The game script's going to be pushed a little more, so I'd expect a bit more behind Jamar Chase out of T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. But Jonathan Taylor shredded the Ravens 2 weeks ago, so expect a huge week out of Mixon. For the Ravens side of this, we talked about Bateman. So we talked about Rashad Bateman and how good of a play he is, what his target share was. This, again, is a game that should push pace a little bit. So I'd expect some solid things out of Bateman. Bengals have not been great against the run. We saw Latavius Murray go down with an injury last week. You'll want to keep an eye on his status, but Devonta Freeman is out there on the waiver wire. He had 9 carries for 53 yards and a touchdown, so pretty good average. We know that he can be used in the passing game as well. So, he's a guy that during bye week, you can absolutely target here. But Hollywood Brown as well, always the option to catch something over the top. He's getting 4 to 5 shots a game. And again, it's bye week hell. So, if you're looking for boom, Hollywood Brown's a pretty good start. This is basically a run out everyone type of matchup.
Yeah, I expect Brown to bounce back against what should be a more neutral game script throughout the game. And then obviously favors better if Cincinnati can get up, and with how Cincinnati's played, I just don't see Baltimore doing what they did to the Chargers, especially with injuries starting to mount up on the offensive side of the ball. Let's move on to a less sexy game. Panthers at the Giants. The Panthers, are 3-point favorites on the road. 43.5 is the game total. Look, if there's a get-right game for Darnold, it starts here. Obviously, no McCaffrey. Chuba Hubbard's been very much a viable option as a streaming option in his absence. DJ Moore will be DJ Moore. I depending on what Daniel Jones we get, whether that be, multiple touchdowns, 300-plus yards, or no touchdowns and 1 touchdown, 3 turnovers, this game could go over. I love throwing a game like this in the parlay, especially one that, it's one of those, I'm not as super confident, but if they all hit at the same time, it could be very, very nice. So game spread I really don't care much about. Both teams are pretty much struggling. But I'll take the game total here. I expect it to be fairly neutral throughout. And if we get a boom game from the quarterbacks, this can easily hit 50-plus points.
Yeah, so I was hoping you'd say team names again because I totally missed what teams you were talking about. I saw a squirrel for a second.
Panthers, Giants.
Oh, okay.
You're good. You're good.
Panthers, Giants. All right. So first off, media comments, Chuba Hubbard. But also if you're looking for a back, the Panthers want to lead on the running game a little bit more. Royce Freeman is the other back here. They're going to look to change up this offense a little bit given, kind of how it sputtered some. Freeman not getting a ton of volume. I'm not recommending starting him this week, but maybe a preemptive pickup on that one. DJ Moore getting the majority of the volume here. I expect this to be, we don't know what the Giants are going to come out with. So for the Panthers, though, I expect DJ Moore, Chuba Hubbard, and I would kind of hold to see, do they shift the offense? You can maybe do a preemptive Royce Freeman pickup if they do shift more to the run game, try to get him more involved, go with that 1-2 punch type of thing. Should be a get-right game for Darnold if you're looking for a quarterback streamer this week. But there's no shortage of options here. I think if I'm looking for a streamer, I'd rather go a guy like Taylor Heineke or Derek Carr this week or even potentially Jared Goff's revenge game than I would Sam Darnold. For the Giants, it's very, very much going to depend on what they have healthy in the receiving room. We mentioned that Dante Pettis could easily be a viable option, so I'm not going to take away from that. Barkley's still out. Devontae Booker, if you picked him up, you should run him out and start him this week. And again, not because the matchup is fantastic. It's actually very neutral, but because it's bye week hell. I can't give any assessment on the Giants wide receivers, right? We don't know who's being activated for the Panthers. It looks like Gilmore will be. We don't know who's going to be healthy for the Giants. What I will say is this. If it's one of the top 2 receivers, whoever they are, you're probably okay with starting them in this matchup. Even if, Henderson has come along, who's in a new offense, and Gilmore comes back off IR, a little bit of rust, also in a new defense. With the volume that's been going that way, I'm okay with the top 2 Giants wide receivers, whoever they may be this week.
Yep. I agree. All right. Football team at Green Bay. Green Bay 9.5-point favorites at home. 48.5 is the game total. Look, kind of like both Darnold and Jones, Heineke has fallen a bit off the face here. Obviously, the lead's caught up to whatever the fuck he's become. Green Bay should win this game handily. We generally stay away from higher spreads like this, but if you're going to bet this game, the spread looks about as sexy can be. Under 10 points here. Game total wise at 48.5. Look, it's all based on if Washington, can score enough points to get to that. I expect Green Bay to. Thankfully, without Jair Alexander, may be a little bit better for TJ McLaurin, which means it's going to be a little bit better for scoring potential here. So lean the over if you want to bet the game total, but not much to talk about in this game.
If Heineke struggles, it's possible we could see Kyle Allen. So, it's ugly, but
it's
basically what I'm looking for here is anything for Terry McLaurin, who's also. I don't know that he's shed quarterback proof, but it has not been good here, the last 2 weeks for Terry McLaurin. Again, New Orleans, I understand that. Tough defense. Kansas City, I would have hoped it was a little bit better. They do get Green Bay. Jair Alexander is still out this week. It is a plus matchup. I'm not shying away from Terry McLaurin. I mentioned Heineke as a stream. It's because Green Bay's pass rush has not been great, and they are really thin in the secondary right now, so I would pay attention to that. Actually, I don't know why I'm saying pay attention to that, because it's really just they're weak in the secondary, and go start Terry McLaurin. And Taylor Heineke is an okay stream this week. He's been struggling, but he's still fine in that matchup, but it's going to dictate a lot of passing. But speaking of dictating a lot of passing, we talked about it. It's the most predictable game script dependent start that you could possibly have. J.D. McKissick. Look, he is good for 7 and 70, essentially, when the game script dictates passing, and nothing when it doesn't. This is one that will dictate passing. So it is another J.D. McKissick game. You're chalk for the Packers. You should know what that means by now.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to a game that's also started, everybody. Chiefs at Titans. Chiefs 5.5-point favorites. 56.5 is the game total. Highest on the slate. One of only 2 games with an over-under over 50. Look, Ryan Tannehill has been pretty bad this year. But this is an offense this is a defense he gets that's going to, hopefully, that should fix. If there's a defense that can help fix you, Chiefs are that defense. So expect the Tennessee Titans to be able to put up as much points as they possibly can. alongside Derrick Henry. Obviously, the Chiefs are who they are. Look, I spread. I don't give a fuck. I want the over here. This one should be the shootout that we're looking for. The most sought after and targeted game in DFS. Chiefs Titans on the road, struggling defenses, struggling offenses. That's going to produce a lot of points. Game over. I take the game total over. Lean Chiefs.
And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that this is a start everybody, because that's exactly what it is. Everybody from Derrick Henry to Darrell Williams to everybody that is, well, essentially everybody. You could even go start Ferkser this week because it's bye weeks and you need a tight end that has a pulse. And last time I checked, Ferkser barely has a pulse, but he has a pulse. So
His pulsing. It's faint, but it's there.
I mean, it doesn't help when Jeff Swaim and Michael Pruitt are also barking up that tree. But look, this isn't a sign off on stardom. This is it's a plus matchup, and the Titans have tight ends on their roster.
Yeah, yes, they do have tight ends on their roster.
Yeah. Other than that, it's start everyone. I don't. Look, it's a great game to bet. It's going to be a fun game to watch. It's a boring game to analyze for fantasy because it's the easiest thing. It's the most easy cop-out that you have, which is, yeah, you got a player on either team? Yeah, go ahead and start him. It's fine.
Fuck, you may even want to throw. You might even be able to throw out Mecole Hardman. You don't throw his name out much because he ain't worth much.
Don't get crazy.
This is yeah. All right. My bad. All right. Jimmy Navarro's back. He says, "Sup, boys?
Sup, Jimmy?
Boys? Jimmy's back." Not really a question, but I traded McCaffrey for Kupp and Henderson last week before the IR news in one of my cash leagues. Good. I mean, hey.
Good pickup. Darrell Henderson's a guy that I watch, and I see him getting better and better every week. So,
yeah.
There's the part where I said nice things about Darrell Henderson.
I'll admit when I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I was completely off on Henderson. I'm okay with that.
And Cooper Kupp is a damn stud, and McCaffrey's going to miss 3 more weeks, and we saw the story play out last year. So to get 2 very, very week in, week out usable pieces for that, well done. I mean,
yeah,
very well done.
I feel bad for the guy that made this move and then saw him get put on IR, but I mean, this is a risk when you traded for McCaffrey, who's been banged up and team's been, I won't say threatening IR, but has been pretty much mum on it. It was bound. There was a good chance that this was bound to happen.
This is the reason why I think a lot of people in the fantasy community were like, yeah, McCaffrey's the one, but I don't feel great about that. This is why.
Back-to-back years of injuries.
Yep.
Age is getting there. I'm not saying he's injury prone. Please don't put that on me. But it's going to be cheaper next year. I'll tell you that much.
And there's soft tissue issues. When look, he's way more talented than David Johnson ever was. But look what happened with him and his injury issues. I'm just saying. Up there in age, he's still only 25. So I know
he's
got another
running back. It's past AJ. I'm kidding.
3 to 4
Dynasty,
3 to 4
Dynasty,
years.
Dynasty, you can look at. He might be the worst trade candidate out, but he will be a discount next year.
And he didn't have injury problems up until really last year. But, that was also a year where they started to lean on him super, super heavily. I mean, he saw his carries go up by 70. He saw, 20-plus more targets. I mean, workload-wise, took 90 more balls in 2019 than 2018, and the year after he starts dealing with soft tissue issues. So, you got to pay attention to this. And
yeah, signs are there.
He's going to be cheaper next year. You're absolutely right. But, as for this year, it's the right move. It's the right call. If you are a Christian McCaffrey fantasy manager, be kicking the tires on trades and looking to cash in that asset.
Might be hard right now with him being put on IR this week, but hey, again, also on the flip side though too, if you're looking to kind of maybe you like your depth, maybe you feel like you're sitting confidently.
Yeah.
Maybe also kick the tires on McCaffrey because if once he comes back, We know exactly who he is in this offense.
Well,
if he can remain healthy,
if he comes back and he's right, and if he's even a little bit off, he has a very bad playoff schedule. Bills, Bucks, Saints. So
I'll trust. I mean, one of those where I'll just trust where.
No, I
expect the volume too.
I trust McCaffrey's volume, and I trust the talent when he's healthy. It's just if he comes back a little bit off too. I mean, it's not like you're getting some sexy schedule at the end of the year either. It's good basically between now and the end of the year. He figures to come back though. Also, keep in mind they have a late season bye. So he went back on IR. If he comes back as soon as he's eligible, you're going to get Cardinals football team Miami, and then a bye week. Falcons, and then you're in playoff territory where the matchups are not good. So
you're going to hear a lot of people out there saying they make a move for him. This is it.
I would tell you to go the other way.
Oh, I'm not saying. I'm if it's going again. If everyone's zagging, not the worst is zag too. Like I'm not saying to run out there and overpay for him, but if you can get him for a cheap amount, this is not paying cheap. This is a premium price for a player. If a top 3 receiver and Henderson's playing like a top 10 running back, that's a pretty.
It's a hell of a haul. You did good, Jimmy.
Yeah, that's a hell of a haul for McCaffrey. But I'm saying if you can, get him for a wide receiver 2, paired with the RB2, I'll take that risk. I'll take the chance because I know what the upside's there. Now, the Falcons at the Dolphins. Falcons on the road, 2.5-point favorites. 47.5 is the game total.
It's ugly. Falcons are actually favored, which is weird.
Favored on the road. The Falcons. How far have we fallen, Dolphins? I'll take Dolphins money line. I'm not like ultra confident. I don't want to bet this game to be. I'll be honest, but if I'm giving a take, it's Dolphins money line. That's it. I don't knowing the game total. This could easily go over. This could easily be like 35 points.
Yeah, we talked about Mike Davis earlier in the show. Matt Ryan's another guy that falls into streamer category. Calvin Ridley will be back this week. Look, Tua's back, so you expect a little bit more neutral game script. Patterson, you don't sit him right now. As far as the Dolphins go, I love Jalen Waddle. He's getting all of the target volume. Mike Gesicki, you're not sitting him in a tight end, flush league. Tua's fine as a streamer if he was dropped and he's out there. And you're staying away from Dolphins running backs because they're Dolphins running backs. And other than that one random Myles Gaskin blow-up game, there's no consistency or continuity here. They have not effectively used the running game.
Yeah, it's a fucking shame, too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Jets at the Patriots. Patriots, 7-point favorites.
As they should be.
Hopefully, a potential revenge game for Zach Wilson to get his mind back right coming off the bye. 42.5. Look, I really don't advocate to bet against the Patriots against the rookie QB. I kind of like the Jets to cover the 7 points. Look, Wilson goes out, gets his win. Comes back, struggled in London. It's fucking London. He's got a week to get himself prepped. I don't talk as positively about Wilson as much as my co-host does.
It's getting harder.
It's getting harder, I know. But in a matchup against the Patriots, we don't blow teams out of the water, and the fact that they're getting more than a touchdown as a spread, a bit concerning. The Patriots defense got exposed last week about the Cowboys. Look, Jets aren't the Cowboys. I don't think anyone's going to mistake them for that. But, coming off of a bye, if we're going to know something about Zach Wilson, this might be the best game to tell. He had a rough start to his career, rough start to the season. Gets the bye week to get his mind right. Gets the bye week for the Jets to get their mind right. This might be the 1 week where you can target them and not hate yourself afterwards. Are they going to win this game?
No.
Do I think they're going to cover 7 points, though? Yes.
Maybe. And I've looked at this game, too, and I'm like, all right, is Zach Wilson that guy, right? Is he going to come back pissed off and hyper-focused on this game because it was easily his worst game of the season, which is saying something because he's put up some bad ones. He threw 4 picks against New England.
He saw ghosts, too.
The last time out.
Just Darnold.
He was seeing ghosts. And, his yards per attempt in that game was .91, which is terrible. In case you're
He took
wondering.
a lot of sacks too. Oh God, it's gonna be so easy this year in the Patriots defense.
All right, is that air yards? That's even worse. Adjusted yards per pass attempt. Sorry.
Yeah.
Was
As it should be.
0.91. It was 2 the week after. So, I mean, not great against tough defenses. New England's past defense, as we talked about, has fallen off a little bit. Look, I don't love Zach Wilson this week. I like him a lot more the next 2 weeks against Cincinnati and Indy. This is a very good sit and watch. And if he shows any signs of life against the Patriots, then you're full bore with him the following week. I'm not on Corey Davis this week. I want to avoid the Jets if I can. You might not be able to, and fine. You know what? Game script does dictate that you could start Corey Davis. There should be volume. Jamison Crowder will be in a football uniform. But, we talked about Michael Carter. It's not a great matchup. I don't want a lot to do with the Jets here. As far as the Patriots, Mac Jones is passing a lot more. The Jets, I don't know if they are able to push the pacing into this game, which makes me a little on Mac Jones. Jacoby Myers, it's not going to be a boom game at all. You're looking at the flooriest of floor games potentially there. But this is another game that I look at and say this is a Damian Harris game. And feel confident in that assessment. So
yeah, it's again, I know even in by apocalypse, this is a hard game to target. This one and some of the other ones you talked about earlier in the show, Panthers, Giants, Broncos, Browns. Look, they're going to have – unfortunately, we get games like this.
Yep.
All right. Lions at the Rams. The Rams are 15.5, the highest game spread. I'm sorry. The second highest game spread of the week. There is one higher than this. Rams are 15.5. The only other game over 50 points at 50.5 as the game total. Look, Detroit's going to have to score just enough to get this pushed over. I don't hate it. I thought this would be maybe 51, 52. Rams we know can put up points. The Rams we know that even if they're up big, will still put the foot on the pedal and push pace. Obviously, we love that for fantasy players, but from a betting standpoint, it makes seeing these higher game spreads more palatable. I'm still not betting it. 15.5, as my grandpa would say, as we've talked about here. That's way too many points. Yet you need a lot. So many things one little thing can go wrong. Defensive touchdown to start the game, some little mishap to start the game off, and then all of a sudden the Lions are up at halftime by 3 points, and you're praying for the Rams to get a bit nutty. 15.5, though, I'll take the over. Not in love with it, but if I'm betting this game, I'm not even using the Rams in a money line parlay because they're minus 950.
Rams are chalk. Lions, it's a Jared Goff revenge game. We have seen the Rams not necessarily be
Matthew Stafford
locked down in that regard. Oh, yeah, they traded. It is a Matthew Stafford revenge game, too.
The battle of the off-season trade.
It is an off-season trade game. This is pretty good. Look, the one thing that I would point out here that is of note is St. Brown. We talked about him earlier. The volume is definitely there. It is a game where the Lions are going to have to pass. We know that Swift is pretty matchup-proof. But so St. Brown's the only guy here that is really a deep call, honestly.
Hawkins, yeah, deep call. I mean, you said chalk all around, minus St. Brown. It's the one flex play that you can play with. I think there's some confidence there. I agree. There should be a lot of throwing. If the Lions score, Lions score a couple of touchdowns early, man, you could see a lot of throwing in this game.
Yeah, Jared Goff is a streamer.
Yeah. Hopefully that whole line's a bit healthier. All right. Eagles at the Raiders. Raiders are 3-point favorites at home at 49 even as the game total. Struggling teams, especially Philly. Raiders only giving 3 points at home, I like. Generally, you don't see a game I thought would look a little more lopsided than this game spread, especially at least I thought it'd be at least 4.5 to 5. But getting 3, just giving up a field goal, I do like the Raiders at home to cover that. Game total, look, Jalen Hurts is now the king of garbage time and the king of multiple rushing touchdowns during that time as well. Backdoor cover on Thursday night, prevented from yours truly from getting the Bucs to cover, but you're not, You're not giving up 6.5. You're only giving up 3. So Raiders to cover. Game total maybe over, right? The Eagles get, the Raiders aren't used to playing with a lead, so Raiders in the over. This one feels kind of fun.
This one does feel kind of fun. This one feels like it might be a Miles Sanders get right type of performance too. But
if they give him enough touches.
I don't know how you get on that train though. Look, Eagles, it's not as clear what chalk is. Chalk is Hurts, Smith, and Goddard, essentially. Raiders are a pretty neutral defense. Like I mentioned, it's bye week hell. You may have to start Miles Sanders. If you have to start Miles Sanders, okay, fine. You have to start Miles Sanders.
Probably starting Miles Sanders.
Yeah, for the Raiders, it's also chalk, right? The Eagles' defense has really fallen off. We know about garbage time Hurts, but with the defense falling off for the Raiders, you're looking Carr, you're looking Renfro, Waller. Josh Jacobs has been good. Kenyon Drake also. I don't want to say Josh Jacobs has been good. He's been serviceable. Let's put it that way.
He's been a thing.
He was serviceable in a tough matchup last week. And Kenyon Drake put up 2 touchdowns, so they're getting him a little bit more involved as well. I'm okay with both backs in this type of scenario as well. So for the Raiders, it's pretty much a chalk play.
Yeah, I actually like this as a game stack. It's a sneaky game stack.
It is a sneaky game stack because it's not sexy on paper with how the teams have been over the last 2 years, but this season, that's actually a pretty sexy matchup.
Yeah, it's that's why I like the over here. I still like the Raiders to cover, but this could be you might see some other players. Ruggs deep shot. Eagles have a weak secondary. If you're looking for a boom play, Ruggs isn't the worst. Same with potentially Edwards, as both of them kind of get the deep shots. But Browns at Buccaneers, 12.5-point favorites. The Bucs are at home. 47.5
Bears
is the game total. Did I say Buck? Yeah.
You said Browns.
Oh, Brown. I'm sorry. Bears at the Bucs. Bucs 12.5-point favorites at home. And can the Bears score enough? I think they could. I think 12.5 is a lot. I do. The Bucs coming off of a 10-day rest period. Against these Bears, who I think look, I called them out to cover last week against the Packers. I thought they were going to. I like the plus 12.5. The Bucs or not the Bears are getting here.
I just don't understand. I know Khalil Herbert was having a good game. I don't understand how you lose by 10, yet somehow Justin Fields only has 27 pass attempts.
Yeah.
And maybe that's me just being a curmudgeon-y Bears fan, but I mean, even as a running quarterback, right, if you're behind most of the game as they were, you should have 30+, which, it's not like Fields had a ton of rush attempts either, right? He only took off 6 times. So when you're playing from behind, I expect a little bit more. They'll be playing from behind again. That did give you some revelations, mostly that Darnell Mooney led the team in targets. He did catch the touchdown. Robinson was the team leader in yards, but they're still both very much floor performances. So you've not had a good performance from a wide receiver on this team. I don't know if you can avoid it this week, given the buys. You may have to roll with it. And the Bucs secondary has been a little bit better the last couple weeks, but still banged up. And this is a game where the Bears are going to have to throw. Damian Harris, I don't believe has been activated for the COVID list yet, but Khalil Herbert has carved out a nice role. The flip side of that, this is a terrible matchup for the run. So if you have the ability to avoid it, and you should, this is the one game this week where I'm saying avoid running backs, at least on the Bears side of things. Fournette's been good. Bears' run defense is good, but you will still get a floor game out of Fournette. I see no problems for Tampa Bay's passing attack in this game, though. None at all. Now, one caveat. Mike Evans. The Jalen Johnson matchup, who is a slightly larger cornerback on Mike Evans, is a very fun one to me. So if I'm going to fade somebody, that's where that fade is. But that being said, I'm not really like hard fade on any of this. It's more of a soft fade. more of a
slightly fading.
It might be floor game. So
Tempting it, but it's not quite there.
yeah.
All right. Now let's go for the most lopsided spread of the week. The Texans at the Cardinals.
Gross.
17 and a half. 17 and a half. Over-unders at 47 and a half. Everything in my heart wants to say take Houston. The Cardinals, like, I don't know, they're good, but great. I mean, they look good. Great times.
They're undefeated, and they played. The teams that they played are 17-7. So,
but can they cover? Nearly, 3 touchdown game or 2 touchdowns and a field goal. A little over that.
Houston just. I mean, they played good against New England, right? I mean, but they just put up a giant dud against the Colts.
They did.
Do not have a shutdown defense at all.
No. And the Cardinals don't stop. Again, just like the Rams, there is no stop to their giddy up. Not until late into the fourth quarter. This team wants to go, go, go. So this is just to sit back and have fun. Bet this game, sure. You'll probably see some crazy ass people throwing the Cardinals in the money line parlays. Minus 1,600. It's the money line for the Cardinals. You're literally getting nothing in return. That's the bet.
Literally nothing.
Literally nothing.
Fantasy wise, this is all no. There's a little bit geared towards the Cardinals. Rondale Moore, I believe. I need to check on this because I missed 1 week and I feel like I've been out of the loop for several, but I'm pretty sure he's quieted since his hot start.
Yeah, Kurt blew up last week.
Yeah.
He led the team in targets, had the 2 touchdowns.
I'm not chasing those points. I like Christian Kirk in matchups where there's going to dictate some offense, which the Browns definitely did. I don't think that Houston's that matchup. So I'm a little off of Kirk. Flip side of that is that puts me a little bit more on James Conner this week, who you absolutely should be starting. We talked about him last week as far as a goal line vulture and a big time touchdown type back. So, I mean, you should absolutely be running James Conner. He didn't grab the tutter last week, but he did have 70 yards and easily led the team in carries. Chase Edmonds, a little less so, and this is a similar game script. So, I'm on James Conner this week, a little bit off of Edmonds because of game script. For Houston, you're very, very much going to be looking at Brandon Cooks, and that's really it. Mark Ingram had a solid game against the Colts. He's put up 2 of those so far. Not heavily involved in the passing game, just on the ground. Did get 18 carries last week, so he's a fine bye-week fill-in that should be out there on waiver wires because it's a very similar matchup to what last week was, so I think you can use that as a blueprint on Mark Ingram, but the game script isn't going to dictate it.
No.
It's just that Houston's Houston, so if they're, they ran him 18 times and they lost 31-3, I could make worse recommendations, but
yeah, when you get a game that's lopsided, it can be tough because you're going to see this as a great matchup for your players and then ask yourself,
it's not
why
always
have they done nothing in the second half?
Game script. You need games where points.
They got to score. They got to score points to get to this game script matchup. But if they score a lot early, especially defensive touchdowns are a killer for these type of matchups in fantasy. For these potential lopsided matchups in fantasy, because all it takes is double-digit points for them to go more into run mode. Thankfully, the Cardinals don't really do that. Both Edmonds and Conner generally are viable every week. Where Conner's the goal line work. Edmonds, even in a double-digit point win, still gets multiple targets and catches. You just hope that he can break when he broke off a 40-yard to start the game.
That's really what did it because he only had.
He didn't have much.
He only had 4 carries, and multiple targets in this case is more than 1, and it was barely that. It was 3 for 4 yards. So, it was just because it didn't dictate it. Nobody had more than 5 targets last week. So,
Kurt had 8. but that's about it.
Did he?
Hopkins is
he's
I think
done.
Kurt. Hopkins is it's been
Sorry, I was looking at receptions. So
no, you're good.
Him and Green were up there, but
Green again. He's 6 target Green. That's what he'll get. 6 targets, nothing more. Hopkins is just. I mean, obviously you're not going to sit him out from the 2 touchdowns. Obviously you're not going to sit Hopkins at all. But 20 point. I think it's 20.5 is his target share. That is that's almost 8% lower than what he normally sees.
Yeah.
Lower in some seasons. He was at 32.5 1 year. So, low goal game. All right. Colts at 49ers. 49ers are 3.5-point favorites. 44.5 is the game total. Little news nugget came out about TY saying that he's not 100% for go to go this week.
I saw
against
that.
Soft tissue.
He's coming off a hamstring injury, so like I said earlier, they're going to try to ease him back, and it's kind of like Barkley coming back out the ACL at the beginning of the year, right? He's injury designated and questionable every week.
Yeah. Sunday night aren't great for this. Obviously, you have to wind through a lot of teams to get to this point. There's not a lot of replacements if you can't go. Saints Seahawks is the next game, so if you're starting to potentially rely on a Colts or Niners receiver, especially ones where there's some injury designation to them, not a lot of options to replace that. So keep that in mind.
Don't put him in your flex.
Yeah. Put him in your flex.
No, do not put him in your flex. TY. Don't put him in your flex if you're going to play him.
Well, you want to leave your flex open.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. That was backwards, wasn't it? Yes. Put him in your flex because you want to leave that open and give yourself options.
Yeah, you want to
right.
Pick from the running back, receiver, tight ends. Anyways, Niners 3.5. Game total wise at 44.5. Look, spread isn't sexy. Game total isn't sexy. Both teams have looked good and struggled at the same time. Both struggling offenses for the most part. Colts' offense started to come alive a little bit against the Ravens and against the Texans, both not very strong. So the secondary, expect the Niners to be healthier coming off of this bye week that they had. Not looking at what I'm getting excited about. So I would generally pass on this game. Maybe take the over if you're looking to bet. But I maybe live bet this if you like to. But I'd go the route of leaning the over on the game total.
Yeah. It's not ugly. I mean, it's very chalky. Is how I feel about this, right? We talked about T.Y. coming in. Pittman's going to be solid. Garoppolo should be back. It's a good streamer. We know that Deebo Samuel has been otherworldly. 49ers running backs have been tough. Avoid that if you can. Hasty's likely to be activated. We'll see how that breaks. I would expect him to immediately get workload, though. If he is back. If him and Wilson are back, then I'd give it a little pause to see how they fall on the pecking order. But, yeah, this is very, very neutral to me. Very chalky. Yawn is how I feel about the fantasy analysis here.
Yawn. All right, last game. Saints at the Seahawks. Saints, 5.5-point favorites on the road. 43.5. It's the game total. Can we get another Monday Night Miracle type of game? Yeah. Not in love. Not in love with what I saw from Geno Smith. Maybe the Saints can get a little bit more. Now this should be all of Jameis Winston here, but I'm not sure if Taysom Hill is going to be back or not. I don't think Michael Thomas is playing in this game.
No news by this point in time about him being activated. Says even though he's eligible, he's probably not going to be yet.
Yeah. So, again, just like the Sunday night game, like the Colts Niners, I'm not excited to bet this game. I expect this line to change a little bit throughout the week. I don't like the early bet, at least for sure. I don't trust either offense. Both defenses, well, the Saints defense is very good. The Seahawks defense is not, but the Saints offense has been so out of sync this year. It's hard to get excited about anybody on the team besides Kamara, and even then, it's a bit tough to get excited about Kamara. So I'm not. I'm not betting this game. There's nothing that screams I have to bet, and it's okay to not bet games. It's okay to not bet every single game.
Yep. What it's not okay to do in this game is to not play Jameis Winston. It is okay to not play Geno Smith.
It's very okay.
I like the Saints here. Look, Kamara's gonna be solid. I think Jameis finds that same efficiency that has made him streamable certain weeks. Like it's a tougher matchup for the Seahawks, and they had a tougher matchup last week. Geno Smith was okay. You had an all right game from Metcalf, but Lockett only hauling in 2 passes. Little bit rough. So, look, I'm not recommending steer clear of anything yet, but when I talked about game planning for your matchup through the bye weeks, Lockett is not even what I would consider a floor play at the moment. So, it's tough. It's a tough matchup with a backup quarterback and a bad O-line.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said. It's hard to see Geno even think about, giving us 2 viable receivers.
Yeah. So
I'm not saying that
probably just
we're not
DK.
saying to drop. We're not saying to drop Lockett. It's gonna be very difficult to not play them this week, given what we got out there for buys. But I agree. It's not gonna probably be easy sledding. I think for both of these guys, it might be one or the other each week. It might not be just Metcalf or just Lockett. It might be one or the other, and you kind of have to live and die with the choices you make.
Yep. That you do.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, they have running backs in Seattle, though, but
they do.
We don't know if it's going to be Chris Carson or not. You'll have to watch the injuries. I mean, look, this is a week where if you have a starting running back, be it Alex Collins or not, you're going to start him. Just don't expect that to be a blow-up play either. I'd almost rather start McKissick than Collins in this matchup.
I would easily, yeah. No, I agree.
Okay, now I'm done.
That's it.
Now we're done. That's it.
Now we're done.
We'll see you next Wednesday. I think.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. See ya.
Bye.
Seacrest out or whatever. Wait, that's not the button I wanted. That's. See if I get copyright claim for that one. I think he has that trademark.